In October of year 11, I was stressed out. I had my mocks in exactly 2 months, and I was really stressed. See, these mocks were going to determine my predicted grades. And if you don't really know what predicted grades are like what helps you get into sixth forms, especially because I was applying to a grammar sixth form. So I was kind of stressed, right? I went online onto YouTube and typed up what the best revision tips were, especially for GCSEs. And it came up with this random video made by some random study YouTuber that you probably know, some NPC. And the video title read, "What I Wished I Learned in Year 11." What this title reads exactly. When I clicked on it, I'm not even joking when I say that I swear I lost brain cells watching that video. There was literally no value in that video whatsoever. I'm not even joking, my bus driver could have given me the same information that the person in the video was saying. Number one, stay hydrated. That's what the guy said. Like somehow hydration is gonna help me get my 9s. Number two, start revising. What else am I gonna do, bruv? But essentially, I don't know, I'm gonna go on a weird rant here. I feel like GCSE, especially GCSE content and study YouTube content, is really oversaturated by these random NPCs who all say the same information. They all say exactly the same things, and I swear if you delete one of their channels, no one's gonna really care or notice because everyone says exactly the same thing. They're all sponsored by some scammy website. If you go online and type how to revise for GCSEs or A-levels, they're all sponsored by some random website that doesn't really work. And they all say the same garbage. Hopefully this video is gonna be different. This video is genuinely close to my heart and exactly what I struggled on when revising for GCSEs. This video is for a very specific subsection of people, and those people are people aiming for all 9s or very high grades. Like, I could be making videos for people getting 2s, help them pass, but I think that I know a lot of people aiming really high, and I feel like all of the advice out there is very basic, like revise more or like start revising earlier. I feel like if you're already revising and you want to optimize yourself to get the grade 9s or get the highest grades, this video is for you. This video will genuinely, I hope, change your perspective to year 11 and help you get the grades you deserve if you're working hard. So to continue off the story, that I clicked off that video and disliked it and reported it for terrorism. I didn't report it for terrorism, please. That's a joke. That's a joke. Essentially, I was so disappointed with the value provided from that video that I felt like I have a responsibility to bestow this video on YouTube, explaining what I struggled on in year 11 and essentially how to improve on that. And this video, if you do follow it, I genuinely reckon that whatever you're aiming for grades-wise, you'll surpass it. So that brings me on to the first tip of this video, which is aim very high. When you look at the section, aim very high, you may think that it's very self-explanatory. Aiming high is something we all do, right? Like, we should all aim high, right? But I feel like this message of aiming high has been really watered down over the last couple of years. Like, everyone sees it as toxic if you're aiming for all 9s. You're kind of seen as sort of a bad student, a toxic student for aiming for all 9s, right? I'm here to tell you that that's garbage. Genuinely, the best thing that you can do right now in year 11 is to aim for all 9s. And if you're getting all 8s and 9s, I know it may sound maybe unrealistic, aim for full marks in every single paper. See, in the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, which is like an incredible book. If you have the time to read like self-improvement books, this is one of the major books that I recommend to you because genuinely this has changed my trajectory of my life, hopefully. But essentially what he says, David J. Schwartz, he's a really good writer, he's very academic. He says that to achieve any goal, any successful person you see in the world right now, they're aiming very high, like very high. There's a common saying, aim for the stars and you land on the moon, or aim for the moon and you land on the stars, and that's 100% true. If you're aiming very high and you obsess over your goals, you're bound to either meet them or get very close to them. And to be honest, if you don't get full marks on every single paper and you just get all 9s, I don't think that's a very bad trade-off, right? See, if you think about this, you see this in all areas of life. Think of the obese person only aiming to lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat instead of having a major goal of losing or getting ripped in general. Think of that student who's getting E's or D's right now and is aiming just to pass, just to get that university offer, just to get into that sixth form. Don't aim so low. So now if you have any subject, I'm talking any subject, it could be Spanish, it could be English language. I hated English language, man. You don't understand, I hated English language, but I still aim for a 9. If you have any subject like that right now that you feel like, oh shit, it's so bad, I genuinely don't know how I can see myself succeeding in that subject, that's a subject that you need to be aiming high in. Think about it, like, I don't know how to put this into like words, but if you read this book, it's incredible. I think there's some like documentaries and YouTube videos that explain this in full depth, like the psychological aspect of this, that I'll probably try link below if I can be asked. But essentially, you want to set goals that excite you, that make you wake up in the morning. And just getting a 5 in English language isn't going to wake you up in the morning and help you revise, right? You need to have a goal so large that people look at you like you're some kind of toxic person. Like, of course, don't be a prick and like rub it in people's face, right? But you need to have these extremely high goals that you set for yourself that excite you. I want you to now look at the view count of this video right now. Of course, if it has 0 views, then just stay with the analogy, right? 95% of the people watching this video will not implement the tip I just said right now. I don't know if it's some kind of like psychological thing, or the like GCSE and revision videos are too saturated right now, but no one's actually applying advice. I guarantee you that if you just apply this one tip, you don't even need the rest of the video. I do recommend it to you, of course, but like, just aim insanely high and obsess over it, and you will get the grades. I promise you, you may not hit your personal grades, but you'll get good. And getting good is obviously what we're aiming for, right? So aim very high to get high, essentially. If you want to know a bit about me, because I try to relate these videos to like my own personal life, at the end of year 11, so I didn't really know this advice, but at the end of year 11, like when I was in my GCSEs, then is when I started, I was like, oh shit, I actually need to revise. And through revision, I set very high goals for myself, and I got decent, you know, I got all 9s, 1 8 and a 7. So it's not too bad, right? But if you set very high goals right now and obsess over them, you will get good. And hopefully that good in your mind is all 9s. But genuinely think of setting your goals as aiming for full marks in every single test. I know that so many people are going to laugh at you or think it's toxic or it's unachievable, but just have that goal inside you and genuinely just actually aim for it. And I promise that you will get good. My personal goals is to get 10k subscribers on this YouTube channel. I know that I have like 400 subscribers right now. I know that this goal may sound a bit like delusional or like toxic for many people, but I don't really care. My goals are also to get very high in the A levels I'm taking, and also to get an aesthetics physique right now. So if anyone's interested in my personal life and how I'm linking it to this, but essentially aim very high to get high. Section number 2, assume you're gonna get the grades. Now, after you have that goal of getting good grades and you have that vision in your mind of getting insanely high grades, the second best thing you can do is not to visualize yourself not getting it. You know, I had this really weird thing where before every exam or like before every mock, I used to think of the consequences of what would happen if I didn't achieve the grade. So for example, if I had an English literature mock, the night before, thoughts would be barraging inside my brain, and I would be telling myself, oh no, I'm gonna have to work at McDonald's if I don't get good in this English literature mock. What if I fail it completely and get a U? This happened throughout GCSEs as well. And it was only until the very end that I realized that if you just assume that you're going to get the grades, that takes away so much stress. Of course, like, don't be delusional about it, right? Don't think you're going to get full marks in every single exam and then don't revise. There is a limit to this. But if you're someone like me and you stress a lot, assume that you will get the grades as long as you do the things you've planned for yourself. So I forgot to mention this, but essentially what you need to have is a solid plan for how you're going to get the grades. So I'll probably make a video on this later, but to plan to get the grades, you need to have like very systematic goals, what content you have to cover on each day. And as long as you fulfill these goals and you do the goals, assume you're going to get the grades. Like, there's no other stress factor. As long as you've done the stuff, as long as you've done the revision that you've planned for yourself, you're going to get the grades. I wished someone came to the year 10 me and slapped him around the face and said, if you just do this, if you just do your goals of like revising this topic today and then revising that topic tomorrow, you will get the grades. There's literally nothing else in it. If you just do the work and then just do the practice papers or just do your revision plan, you will get the grades. Stop worrying unnecessarily. Stop having these thoughts where you think you're gonna fail even though you've revised so much, right? Assume you're gonna have the grades, and this visualization, if I were to call it, this is another subsection in another book called Atomic Habits. I'll not plug too many books, but essentially if you visualize yourself having success, your body will respond to the visualizations you have, essentially. So you will want to get the grades. If you visualize yourself getting the grades, there's a good chance that you will get the grades. And the opposite is true as well. So if you visualize yourself having bad grades and like failing, it's more likely that that would happen. So essentially the end of this section concludes with the fact that you need to assume that you have the grades, or that you're automatically going to get the grades, as long as you stick to your revision plan. And again, I'm going to plug another one of my videos. I'm going to make a full video on how like to plan your revision and how I'm going to plan my revision in the future. So like sub down below and like the video and share. GCSEs are a competition. Despite what your parents or your friends or your teachers would have told you, it's just you and the paper and everyone else in the UK. Think about that. You are competing with everyone in the UK for the grade you want, right? I know that this may sound contradictory to the section beforehand where I said assume you're going to get the grades, but recognize that you're competing against a lot of people. And I just want you to visualize with me. Imagine you are in results day, right? You're going to school. You get your letter for your results. I don't know. Some schools are like broke, so they don't have the envelopes, so they just get a folded piece of paper. But imagine you open the folded piece of paper or the envelopes and you don't get the grade. Some random other guy who studies 12 hours a day gets it instead of you. What does that make you feel? For me, that wouldn't really dishearten me, right? Understanding that it's a competition, it may sound like hard and toxic and mean. You may think, why is this guy saying that you should compete against your friends? Of course, don't be toxic, right? But as long as you understand that you're competing for your grades, that should inspire you and would have motivated me if someone came up to me and told me that it's a competition instead of, yippee, just stay hydrated and revise more. I would have been more motivated and I probably would have got all nines, right? So this is what I'm not exactly saying this to you. I'm saying this to my younger self. If I was looking my younger self in the eyes, I would say that, look, man, GCSEs are a competition and you're competing against everyone in the UK. Now, how would you feel if you're just slacking off? Would the guy who's studying 12 hours a day slack off? No, he's going to take your grade. So just put that in perspective. And I feel like that would have inspired me way more than like other random YouTube channels saying that you should stay hydrated and drink 2 to 3 bottles a day of water. Now, just to reiterate, I'm not telling you to go be mean or be antisocial to your friends. Don't do that, right? But as long as you understand that it's a competition and you're not all together and you're not all doing this together. I see there's like cringe comments online, but all in this together, guys. No, you're competing. You're all against each other. Now, like, of course, that you could like have help from your other friends, but as long as you realize that it's a competition, and as long as I put that perspective in your brain, hopefully you should be fine. Constraints are genuinely one of the best things you can have for revision. I guarantee you that if you understand this concept of constraint, you will explode in your academic success. You'll be everyone in your class. What is constraint? I need to tell you a story first before I explain it to you in full detail. Imagine you have person 1. He's pretty jacked, right? He goes to the gym. He goes into the gym and he picks up 60 kg and he reps that. Now, 60 kg is a lot of weight. Like, for someone to start the gym, 60 kg is quite a lot. Now imagine he's repping that 25 times. 25 seems a bit excessive, right? Like 25 times, if you don't go to the gym, you should be aiming for like 8 to 10 reps. But he's doing 25 reps. Or maybe he's doing 50 reps. Now, come back another 6 months later, and you see him doing 60 kg and still doing 25 reps. What would you tell to him? I know what I would tell to him. I would say that there's something wrong with your revision plan. Sorry, not revision plan. There's something wrong with your workout plan. If you were stuck at the same weight and the same reps for 6 months, that's not good. So what would you recommend for him? Pick up the heavier weights, right? Just pick it up and rep it, man. Why are you staying at one place? Now imagine you have person B. Now he's not as strong as person A, and he can only bench press the bar. Now the bar isn't like, it's not that good. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone I know can bench at least the bar, but he's struggling with the bar. But if you come 6 months later and he's benching 55, even though it's less than the guy who's benching 60, you would congratulate this guy way more than you would the other guy. Why? This is something called constraint. And in gym terminology, we call this progressively overloading. Progressively overloading essentially means progressively getting better than your previous self. There's a very controversial YouTuber online. He's called Hamza. I don't know if you may have heard of him, but he says a very good quote. Let me read it to you. He says, "It doesn't get easier, only more enjoyable. If it gets easier, you're cheating your potential." What does this mean? If what you're doing right now, revision-wise, is easy, or you find like any topic or like the subject easy, you're simply not doing enough. You're cheating your potential, as what Hamza says. You should progressively aim to increase the hardship of the subject you're taking. And the way to do this is by doing A, harder past papers, or B, doing harder essays. Now, I'm not going to tell you the exact revision. Actually, I mean, so like, if you go to like UKMT or like Olympiad questions for sciences and maths, this is where you can find really, really hard questions. And for English, honestly, I don't really know for English. You could go ask your teacher for harder questions, or you could go to somewhere like ChatGPT and ask it to generate hard GCSE English questions. But essentially, if you find yourself being sort of like bored in a subject, you're simply not doing it right. You're like that guy who's just benching 60 in the gym for 25 reps for the last 6 months, who hasn't gone up in progress. If you realize that your constraint is the thing that's holding you down, and all you have to do is progressively overload in hardness of the subject, you'll explode your potential and essentially your grades, because you're aiming for making the subject harder. Like 99% of the NPCs and the normies around you, they're just aiming to like just do enough to get the grade, right? But if you're aiming to make it harder, if you're aiming to make the subject harder, they have no chance against you. So all this section is essentially trying to convince you that you shouldn't be aiming for the subject to get easier. You should be aiming to enjoy the subject more, because it never gets easier. It shouldn't get easier. It should always stay at that sort of like hard level. You should just enjoy doing the subject. So again, to reiterate, to get good in a subject, it shouldn't be easy. If it gets easy, you're cheating your potential. It should just be more enjoyable, and you should just like have this vibe of enthusiasm when you're doing the subject. Like, you shouldn't like make excuses whilst doing the English language essay, or like describing the metaphors. Just aim for it to be more like enjoyable, and aim to make it progressively harder every time you do it. And this would have helped me a lot if I would have told this to my younger self. See, I was doing like these Anki flashcards, which I know Anki is like a really, really good revision resource if you've seen other people, but essentially Anki are these online flashcards, but I only did them every single day. I just did those flashcards. Now, what I should have done was progressively overload the hardness of the subjects I was doing. Like, I should have gone and done like Olympiad questions, but I didn't, and I stayed the same, and I got annoyed when other people were beating me in their grades. They were just doing stuff that was harder in the subject. So I don't know how like this came out, but if you want to go watch the Hamza video, I would genuinely recommend him. He's an absolutely sick YouTuber. I get all my self-improvement stuff from like him, but genuinely just like, don't make your subject easy, and don't like, as long as your subject doesn't get easy, I know this is really weird advice, but as long as your subject doesn't get easy and it's constantly slightly above your comfort level, you're growing in that subject and you'll get the grades. Welcome to the Unfiltered, or the special section. It's just me and you right now, and I think 99% of the people watching this video have clicked off. The retention is around 2%, so if you go on my video and look at the view count and take 2% of that, that's how many people are watching the video right now. And honestly, to you, you're a real one, by the way. if you're watching this video and you've watched so far, I just want to give you some special advice for year 11s and essentially how I would like view the year ahead of you. The first thing is that comparison is the thief of joy. I know that this video is slightly more abstract than the other ones. I do have like very systematic videos, but essentially a comparison is the killer of joy. Don't compare your grades to like other people. There used to be this thing that my teacher used to tell to like set 8 students, which was like, don't compare yourself to other students, just compare to yourself where you were yesterday. And I always thought this advice was really cringe because like the set 8 students, man, the set 8 students are my old school from. If the maths question asked you to use the table, they would like pick up the little desk and use that for the maths question. But effectively, that advice is amazing when it comes to GCSE, and you may not think, but when it comes to like revision, you should be comparing to your previous self. Revision works, I think, exactly the same way the gym works. You just should like progressively overload yourself until it should consistently get harder and harder and harder. If you think about it, your brain is a muscle, right? So like if you progressively overload your brain, you're just going to get better at revision itself. So as long as you turn up every day with the intention of doing something hard to do with your subject, it will like add up and you will like be amazing at the subject. And another thing I want to say is that I have a I have beef with like the GCSE revision YouTubers around, and I just don't like this GCSE space online. I think it's really toxic. I think for my GCSEs especially, I was going on like r/GCSE, which is like a subreddit. Don't go on it. It's like, if you don't know what Reddit is like a social media designed for dorks and like designed for like neeks. Don't go with it. Like, it's very toxic. I know that there's like memes and stuff on Reddit, but like don't go on the Reddit. Don't watch these like random ass like stupid YouTubers that are like sponsored by like scammy revision resources that don't really work, and like they all give the same advice. Don't watch them. Just all you have to do to get all 9s is slightly increase the difficulty level of your like revision, and just turn up every single day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for staying for the unfiltered section, and I hope you get all 9s.